Before we begin, let me share something with you gently. There is nothing broken about you. What you're experiencing is something many people quietly carry, even if they never speak about it out loud. A mind that learned to let its own thoughts move beyond the inside, a voice that once had a purpose, a way of organizing, processing, releasing, and now it simply hasn't learned yet how to return inward again. And that means something very important. It can change, not through force, not through pressure, but through something much quieter than that, through awareness. So as you listen to this story, you don't have to try to stop anything. You don't have to fight your thoughts or silence your voice. You can simply begin to notice something new. There was once a person who lived in a quiet town where most things seemed ordinary. They walked the same streets, saw the same people, went through the same routines. But there was one thing that made their experience different. A voice. Not someone else's voice, but their own. A voice that followed them everywhere. At first, it didn't seem unusual. It spoke softly, whispering thoughts, repeating ideas, commenting on things as they happened. And in some strange way, it even felt helpful, like a companion, like something that made the world feel less empty. But over time, something began to change. The voice didn't stay inside. It started to slip outward, soft at first, barely noticeable. A whisper under the breath, a quiet murmur, a sound that only they thought they could hear. Until one day, they noticed something. Someone had quietly turned their head, just slightly, just enough. And in that small moment, something inside shifted. A question appeared. Why is this happening? From that day on, they became more aware, more cautious, more tense, because now the voice wasn't just a companion. It felt like something they couldn't control. They tried to stop it. They told themselves, be quiet, think inside, don't say anything. And for a moment it would work, but then the pressure would build, like a thought trying to escape. And before they knew it, the whisper would return. So they tried harder. More control, more effort, more force. But the more they pushed it down, the more it seemed to push back. Until one evening, something unexpected happened. They had gone somewhere quiet, away from people, away from noise. Just a still place where nothing demanded anything from them. And for the first time in a long time, they didn't try to stop the voice. They just listened. And something strange happened. The voice slowed. It didn't disappear, but it softened, like it didn't need to fight anymore. And then they noticed something else. Behind the voice, there was space. Not empty in a frightening way, but open, calm, still. And in that space, a realization began to form. Very quietly, this voice is not who I am. It was something they had been using, a tool, a habit, a pattern that the mind had learned. And like any habit, it could be unlearned. Over the next few days, they began experimenting, not with force, but with curiosity. The next time a thought appeared, instead of speaking it, they imagined, like a text on a page, silent, clear, contained. And something surprising happened. The thought didn't disappear, but it didn't need sound anymore. So they tried something else. When the urge to whisper came, instead of stopping it, they gently moved it inward, like turning down the volume without turning it off. And the mind responded, not immediately, but gradually, because the mind doesn't need force to change. It needs permission. Days turned into weeks, and something began to happen. The voice started to move inward, not because it was forced, but because it was no longer needed outside. And the more it moved inward, the more something else emerged. Clarity, stillness, presence. They began to notice the world more. Sounds outside instead of inside. Moments instead of commentary. And something deeper settled in. A quiet knowing. I can think without speaking. I can exist without explaining everything. I am safe in silence. One day, they found themselves walking through a familiar place. The same streets, the same people, but something was different. There was no whisper, no external voice, no urgency to speak their thoughts out loud. Just a quiet mind, a steady presence, a sense of ease. And in that moment, they realized something profound. The voice had never been the problem. It had been a bridge, a way the mind learned to process, to cope, to organize. But now, they had learned something new, a quieter way, a more internal way. And the voice no longer needed to live outside. And as you listen, you might begin to notice something similar happening within you. Not forced, not rushed, just a gentle shift, because your mind already knows how to think silently. It always has. And the part of you that speaks out loud can begin to learn how to return inward, softly, naturally, easily. You don't have to stop anything all at once. You don't have to control every moment. You can simply begin to notice when a thought appears. You can hold it inside, like placing it gently in a quiet space within you. And each time you do, your mind learns. Each time you allow silence, your system adapts. Each time you choose inward awareness, the habit begins to change. And maybe, not all at once, but gradually, you'll begin to feel it. Less need to whisper, less urge to speak, less pressure to release thoughts outward, and more comfort, more ease, more quietly inside. Because this isn't about stopping yourself. It's about teaching your mind a new way to be. And it's already happening, even now, as you sit here, reading, listening, noticing. Something is shifting. And that shift will continue quietly, naturally, over time. And when you're ready, you can return to your day, knowing something simple but powerful has already begun. You are not losing your voice. You are learning where it belongs. Inside, calm, quiet, in yours. Before we begin, find a position that feels comfortable, sitting or lying down, somewhere where you can allow your body to begin softening without needing to hold anything up. As you settle in, take a slow breath in and gently let it go. That's right. Nothing to force, nothing to change. Just allowing. Bring your awareness to your breathing, not controlling it, just noticing the way the air enters and leaves. And with each exhale, you might begin to feel a subtle release. Shoulders softening, jaw unclenching, tongue resting naturally. And that's important because the tongue is often connected to the habit of speaking, even softly, even unconsciously. So as your tongue rests, you may begin to notice something quieting already. Now, gently bring your awareness inward, not to the words of your thoughts, but to the space between them. At first, it might seem like there isn't much space at all. Thought after thought, moving quickly. But just by noticing, something begins to change, because awareness naturally slows things down. And as the thoughts begin to slow, you might catch a small gap, a moment where nothing is being said, just presence. And in that moment, you may realize something important. You are still here, even without the words. Now imagine that your thoughts have a volume dial, not an on and off switch, just a dial. And without forcing anything, just imagine gently turning that dial down slightly, not to silence, just softer, like a voice moving from speaking to thinking, and then from thinking to knowing. And as that happens, you may notice your throat softening even more, your breath becoming quieter, your body settling deeper. Now imagine something else. Inside your mind, there are pathways. One pathway leads outward to speaking, whispering, externalizing. And the other pathway leads inward to silent awareness. And for a long time, your mind simply practiced the outward path. That's all. But now, you're creating a new one. So the next time a thought appears, instead of letting it move outward, you gently guide it inward, like placing it into a quiet room inside you. No sound needed, no whisper required, just knowing. Now, bring your awareness to the idea of silence. Not empty silence, but safe silence. A silence that holds you. A silence that doesn't judge. A silence where nothing needs to be explained. And as you sit in that, you may begin to feel something unexpected. Relief. Because your mind doesn't actually need to speak to function. It can simply be. Now, if at any moment you feel the urge to whisper, to speak, to move the thought outward. Don't resist it, just notice it, and then gently bring your awareness back inward, like guiding a current back into its source. And each time you do this, you are teaching your mind something new. You are showing it a quieter path. Now imagine this becoming easier. Not because you're trying harder, but because your mind is learning, rewiring, adapting, so that over time your thoughts naturally stay inside, without effort, without tension, without needing control. In a moment, you'll return to your day, but you won't return the same way, because now there is a new awareness, a new option, a quiet place within you that you can return to anytime, whether you're around people or alone, walking, sitting, or simply existing. You can allow your thoughts to remain inside, calm, quiet, contained. And just before you finish, take one more slow breath in and let it go, and notice the quiet. Even if it's small, even if it's subtle, it's there, and it will grow. You might begin to notice throughout your day, without trying, without effort, your thoughts become quieter, more external, more natural. And each time that happens, even for a moment, it strengthens.
Where the voice belongs. There's a whisper in the silence that I never used to hear. It followed every moment like it needed to be near. At first it felt like comfort, like I wasn't alone. But somewhere in the distance, it stopped feeling like my own. I tried to quiet the echo, tried to shut it down, but the harder that I fought it, the louder was the sound. Every word escaping like it had to be set free, but all it ever wanted was a place inside of me. And I didn't know there was a space behind the noise, a place where I could go, where I was more than just a voice. I'm learning how to breathe in the quiet, learning I don't have to speak to feel alive. There's a piece I never knew I was hiding, right behind the noise I tried to fight. I'm not losing who I am in the silence. I'm finally here, what was always mine. Every thought can rest where it belongs, inside, where the voice belongs. Oh, where the voice belongs. I used to chase attention like it had to be released. Every thought of pressure, every whisper seeking peace. But the moment I stopped running and just let it be, the storm began to soften into something I could see. Not every thought needs speaking, not every feeling sound. There's a deeper kind of knowing when you let it settle down, like words without a language, like truth without a name. A quiet kind of presence that was always underneath the same. And now I know the voice was never who I speak to feel alive. There's a strength I never knew was rising. In the stillness I was trying to hide. I'm not broken, I was learning the silence. I was finding what was always mine. Every thought now rests where it belongs, inside, where the voice belongs, inside, calm and quiet, inside, where the voice belongs.
So here are the key meanings of the story. Number 1, the voice is not the problem. It's a learned habit. The story reframes self-talking as a pattern, not a disorder. It removes shame by showing the voice was once helpful, processing, comfort, focus. It simply became externalized over time. Core message: you are not broken. Your mind learned a strategy, and it can learn a new one. Number 2, what you resist persists. The person tries to force the voice to stop, and it gets louder. This reflects a key psychological truth. Suppression creates a rebound effect. The urge increases. The shift happens when they stop fighting and start observing. Core message: change happens through awareness, not force. Number 3, the discovery of the space behind the voice. One of the most important moments in the story. They notice space behind thoughts. This represents consciousness itself, the part of you that is not the voice. Meaning, you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. Number 4, external thinking to internal thinking. The story teaches a skill, not a concept. Moving thoughts from speaking to whispering to imagining to knowing. This is a gradual internalization process. Core message: thought does not require sound. The mind can function silently. Number 5, the volume dial, not an on-off switch. This is crucial for reducing anxiety. You are not trying to eliminate thoughts. You are adjusting intensity. Why this works. The brain accepts gradual change. It avoids triggering resistance. Core message: you don't stop the mind. You soften it. Number 6, the 2 pathways, neuroplasticity. The outward versus inward pathway represents natural habits. Repetition of outward speaking equals stronger pathway. Redirecting inward equals building a new one. Scientific meaning: this is neuroplasticity in action. Core message: every time you think silently, you are rewiring your brain. Number 7, silence is safe. Reconditioning the nervous system. Many people who self-talk externally feel an unconscious need to release thoughts. The story gently teaches silence is not dangerous. Silence is holding, not empty. Core message: you can exist without expressing every thought. Number 8, the urge is not a command. The Induction teaches, notice the urge, don't obey it. This builds response flexibility, self-regulation. Core message: an urge is just a signal, not something you must act on. Number 9, from control to permission. The transformation happens when the mind is allowed to change. This aligns with hypnosis, nervous system regulation, and behavior change science. Core message: the mind changes faster when it feels safe, not controlled. And number 10, identity shift. I am someone who thinks internally. By the end of the story, the character is no longer someone who struggles. they become someone who naturally thinks silently. This is an identity level change, which is the most powerful form of transformation. Core message: you are becoming someone whose thoughts stay inside naturally. And as you begin to return to your day, to your world, you might start to notice something very subtle but very real, a quietness that wasn't there before. And maybe not all at once, but in small, almost unnoticeable moments, you'll find your thoughts staying where they belong, inside, calm, clear, and completely your own. And if this spirit's helped you in any way, if you felt even the smallest shift, go ahead and subscribe so you can continue giving your mind these moments of peace again and again. And if you've ever felt like you want something more personal, something created just for you, for your mind, for your patterns, and for your transformation, you can reach out to me directly at rhondashypnoticstories@gmail.com, and that's a Rhonda without an H. Because sometimes the most powerful changes begin quietly, just like this one, and they stay with you long after the story ends. Until next time, be well.